Welcome to the Big Frog Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Bonus Creature, at least that's my artist name. And with me today, my co host, the lovely Desarae. Hello, Desarae.
Hello, hello.
And we have P-Chops today. I'm very excited about this guest. P-Chops, welcome to the podcast.
Nice to be here. My arm keeps disappearing because of
Oh,
virtual green screening. This is the world I live in.
it's tough being in the undersea layer at times.
A tenuous connection to the surface.
So I will attempt to sort of describe what I know about you really quick, and then I'll give you a chance to sort of augment that. But P-Chops is uh, he's a long-time musician, formerly educated in music, that now works in research capacity. But he also makes music, and he also hosts some streams on Twitch. One of them is under the name, well, I said P Chops. I guess we'll reveal your real name here later. If it will make sure that's okay, and then we'll look at some of your music that I'm really digging. But I just love your show. P Chops is sort of a corporate satirical show that you do with sort of some really cool abstract ambient and noise music. Do you want to tell us a little bit? Was that a decent description?
Yeah, it's a combination of really abstract music, long form, improvised, really abstract music like ambient, noise, glitch, whatever. But that's framed in this narrative about escaping the end of the world in a secret undersea bunker, basically. And that develops into a really elaborate lore, and it's kind of cultish, and you kind of wonder if the guy running it is a little unhinged. Maybe isn't really. Maybe it's not all grounded in reality. Something going on there. You don't know whether to believe it or not, and you're left being promised a life of luxury, basically, if you go along with the cult. And then the ambient music and everything is used as a brainwashing tool by the leader to convert everybody to this utopia that they're all going to live in.
It's a very compelling utopia, I will tell you.
With
And it's
purple
all
chickens.
yes, purple
Yeah,
chickens.
Yeah.
the chickens were one of the first elements I added to my stream. That and Squeaks the squirrel, um, and which is a whole thing about. There's a whole sub narrative about this cyborg squirrel, but it came out of this old film about science and squirrels that I found on archive.org that was just ridiculous. And it has this chipmunk running around in a laboratory and being given all these tasks to do and everything. So,
What is the
um,
background of that film? Do you know
I
much about it?
no, I don't know much about it.
Okay.
I didn't do any. I haven't done any research. I never
Right.
got curious about where it came from. I just was captivated by it.
Yeah, it's
So
amazing.
yeah,
Cool.
there's a bunch of old sort of random educational films on archive.org that I there's not a lot of free downloadable video out there unless you steal things, and I just can't keep up with the arms race of what dodgy website or tool do you use to steal things or whatever. So I don't want to like grab random copyrighted content and mash it all up together. So I went to archive.org and I found these super old movies, and there's not very many of them. And I downloaded them all, and they're really poor quality. But just by mangling and remixing them, I've been able to make weird visuals out of them. And so I started doing that, like shortly after I started the stream, I needed some visual element. So um, I started screwing around with those,
Yeah, I love it. So
seeing
it's
seeing
like
what I could do with them.
this ground squirrel, and you often mention that it's not a chipmunk; it's a ground squirrel. So what is that about?
It's a chipmunk, and the problem is that the old movie is called Squeak the Squirrel, not Squeaks the Squirrel, but Squeak the Squirrel. It's somehow evolved into Squeaks the Squirrel, and uh,
Squeaks is really put through the business, it seems. but it looks like, yeah. Anyways, we don't have to spend too much time on that.
No, the lore is deep, and it's completely ridiculous. So
Yeah, so like one of the things that drew me into that was just, you have the slideshows and you present those as sort of your average corporate executive might present high level business information in a corporate meeting, and it's just so spot on that it's just,
Mhm.
it's amazing.
I've been in those meetings. I've seen it happen. I've had to get up. I've had to get up and present PowerPoint slides at meetings like that. In fact, I have to do that at work, and so there's a whole performance around it and lingo and vibe around it that in order to be effective at communicating what I have to communicate at work, I have to kind of play along with that culture. And
Yeah.
so doing it all the time, like in part I'm kind of venting, right? Or I'm kind of like getting out of my system I'm just poking fun at something that I think people take a little too seriously in those settings,
Mhm.
right? The need to project a certain vibe instead of
Yes.
being direct, right? But you have to balance everything against everything, right? Like
Right.
sometimes being direct means being clicky or something, and you can't be that way in a workplace where you have to respect everybody or whatever, everybody's opinion, everybody's different perspectives.
Yeah.
Like English as a second language, for instance. I deal with people whose English is a second language for them. And so if I use all kinds of really idiomatic language, which is one of the shticks that happens in high level business culture, is using these
Mhm.
colorful idioms, and everybody's trying to jockey to see who has the most colorful idiom. And that actually excludes certain people for whom
Oh,
they did
right.
not grow up in that culture.
Yeah, it's been going on a couple of years for me now since I was in that environment. So I normally would probably have dozens of those to throw out there, but like, the low hanging fruit and
Yeah, like
touch base. I don't know. I could think of
taking things
things.
offline.
Yeah, let's
You know,
just take
take
it
this
offline.
offline.
Let's take this offline. It's like, aren't we
The
offline now?
absurdity of reality, the reality that we created for ourselves for what purpose?
Exactly. Right. No, that's exactly right.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about Office Space and TPS reports and all that. And I remember when that first came out, I was a teenager. My mom was like, "Oh, it really is like that." And sure enough, I wound up in the corporate world for a while, miserably so. And she was not wrong.
No, it's there. It's a
Yeah.
thing.
Yep,
Generally, it
the
feels
culture
like the
is.
entire audience is just kind of wanting to break through that barrier. So if you can sneak in a joke or something, it usually lands okay. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so and during that, like you said, you have the music mixed in, and you take contributions from other. You have a Discord server. If people aren't familiar with Discord, that's sort of like a popular chat server that started for gaming chat, but it's turned into sort almost like a BBS or a forum kind of thing, and you can interact. But anyways, you take submissions from other artists and you kind of feature those sometimes or most of the
Yeah, I
time.
used to do that more. And now I mostly make everything myself. Because
Okay.
before, I really needed help with visuals. Like they
Mm-hmm.
just weren't, what I was doing just wasn't good enough. And then I accepted some musical contributions because people were very generous in allowing me to use them. And that kind of developed into a practice of just building my own loops for the music and doing enough more of that uh I just have fewer of other people's audio contributions in my mix than I used to, and
Mm-hmm.
fewer of people's visual stuff in my playlist than I used to.
Okay.
So and then I want to do live video effects instead of pre-recorded ones, and so those are all generated with a live thing that I set up,
Right
and
on. So you've
it's not
collabed
somebody
with
else's content.
right on. But you sorry to interrupt, but you collabed with VJ Pussycat quite a bit. I think that's where I met her, and we've done some online music streams together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that because I just remember she contributed a lot of the visuals, and And yeah, I think she's inspired a lot of people to sort of start working on doing their own visuals and trying to do it live and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I learned a lot from her and from the collaboration. And that was, yeah, that's been a really good and long term collaboration that started a couple of years ago when Bardic Perspiration put us together.
Oh, okay.
Bardic just knows a lot of people in the interactive AV space and put together some raid trains where I met streamers like Leslie Tanner and um, Carl DeLinden at Forest of Wires,
Oh, nice.
and some other folks. And then VJ Pussycat was one of them. And Bardic said, the two of you just need to do something together. And so that was how
I can see why.
got connected. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's been really, really productive.
I'm guessing that's how I discovered her as well, but I didn't discover her until maybe last fall,
Mhm.
right before I was moving out here to California. And I remember um, I would fall asleep to her streams a lot because they were really relaxing for me. Like, even though it's like just glitchy and crazy and weird, I don't know, it just made me feel like happy and relaxed.
Well, that's what people say about the music that I do, which is like
Uh-huh.
it's not typical music. It's not like 3 minute songs
Right.
that have a beat and a chorus that you can sing along with. It's not that type of thing. It's this extended form, droney, like ambient and sometimes very noisy stuff. But I'm always pumping out a certain level. And so you can put it in the background and it's not going to suddenly jump out at you or it's not going to
Mm,
suddenly drop away from you because I just keep things at this same level, and that has a calming effect. It's
yeah.
like even the noise stuff, you could turn it down, and it's like having a white noise machine putting you to sleep at night.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
and you,
never really that's not what I'm going for. It's not what I thought I was doing, but it's I'm perfectly happy with that aspect of it.
It
yeah, and
works
you,
well with the narrative, though.
yeah, for sure.
We're being brainwashed and we will comply so we can live in luxury. I think it's perfect and brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
but now you say you don't do the 3 minute conventional kind of song and stuff, but that's just for this project. You also have written a lot of, and I assume continue to write a lot of sort of pop and punk and the various different genres. Do you
Yeah,
want to tell us
although
a little bit
it's
about that?
that's slowed down to a trickle, but that's
Okay.
what I
Mm,
started doing back when I was a teenager and in the '80s, and I kept doing that in the '90s, and then there were long periods of time um, when I didn't do that kind of songwriting,
Hmm.
um, and then I would come back to it, and there's actually a whole slice of my songwriting that I haven't yet shared with you folks that
Oh, really?
I'm happy to share with you. But um,
Sure.
just I just thought of
Hey,
it like right before the interview.
Right. Yeah, you sent me that
that'd
message,
be
and I was like,
awesome.
I'd love to hear it, but I won't have time
Yeah,
to do so before we talk. But yeah, I'm excited to
right.
see
Yeah,
it.
because I've
Cool.
had various sort of alter egos in my time as a musician
Oh,
that I've
cool.
adopted. Yeah, it's sort of like being in bands, but it's like if you don't have a band because you're so weird that you can't find other people that are equally weird, then you have to go it alone, but you still want to, brand yourself and have a
Mhm.
stage name and a vibe.
Right.
Um, and I used to kind of just partition all of my artistic work into different kinds of genres or categories. I say I used to. I think I'm still doing that because, like, when I sit down and write a song on the guitar, it's a completely different process than
Right.
putting it together one of these sort of drone things. I just like kind of do both, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
I guess I can carve out enough, energy, creative energy here and there to do both.
Yeah, and for your live streams on Twitch, you created that separate stream for your more casual conversational stuff, and you've mentioned that you just don't you just don't feel like it belongs on the other channel because you've carved out such a niche for it, I guess.
This is exactly the same thing that I'm
Yeah.
talking about having done with all these sort of personas. And, it's the same
Mm,
thing. It's like this sense of wanting to avoid something complete and authentic. in favor of something artificial, or satirical or something like that.
Right. Well, I mean, there's like a lot of different reasons that one might want to, you know, be anonymous online in some capacity, or at least make there be one extra step to find out who
Yeah,
you are, you know. So, like, I mean, for me personally, like, I'd like the freedom of just being able to express my thoughts without, or at least with a reduced fear of some sort of retribution in my career. You know, we're talking about these corporate environments, and you see a lot of stories about, you know, people getting canned and stuff for saying the wrong thing. Now, a lot of times it's, you know, it's sort of like things that maybe they should have been let go for. But also, I mean, like, you know, I mean, artists generally don't toe the line of convention, and is that part of it for you too when you sort of do your thing as an alias?
no, I think it's that I want to create like, I don't want to just create music that's like by me,
Okay.
or something like that. I want to create like a little universe that's got its own rules and its own frame, right? And so I can
Hmm.
mess around in that without messing up the other ones, because
Okay.
they all have like a frame around them. It's sort of like the difference between, uh, I don't know, it's sort of theatrical or something. I don't know how to put it, but it's like there's a degree of separation between, the whole me and whatever persona is making the music. And that's not a hard thing to put together mentally. It's just not what people usually do.
Hmm.
Um, you know, but I
Right.
was inspired by people like David Bowie, who, he was the Thin White Duke for a while. He was Ziggy Stardust for
Mhm.
a while. It's like that was all very productive, and it
Right.
enabled him to be more than one thing in his career. And that was the thing I saw happening in bands that I didn't want to get sucked into, was doing the same thing for decades and being stuck doing it.
Okay.
And that being your whole thing.
Interesting.
Right.
I love that, and I totally get it. And David Bowie is a great example because, yeah, he's been he's run the gamut as far as the character and the lore and the vibe and the music, all of it
Yeah.
in a package.
No, it was very great to see that, because you could see how the things I love about theater and performance art and stuff like that aren't really, they actually have a place in music too, especially in pop music and pop culture where everybody's so creative. And I really mean that. Like a lot of people, put down pop culture, but as being less sophisticated or something, or artistic or something. But I don't think that's really the case in 2023. I think pop culture is very sophisticated, and there's a lot of incredibly talented people doing really creative things in it.
Hmm.
And so I've always been plugged into. I don't follow the latest fashion and music and trends and stuff like that very closely, but when I hear new stuff, I'm kind of blown away these days when I hear some of the new stuff that's coming out. So,
Right.
like,
Who are
there's,
your
Like
some of your
what?
favorite artists?
Yeah.
well, admittedly, right now, it's Carolyn Polachek. So I
Okay.
don't know if you know who Carolyn Polachek is.
I'm
I
afraid I'm
don't.
not super familiar. Not, or not at all.
So
Uh-uh.
that's my latest pop culture discovery.
What kind of music is she?
Um, she's a virtuosic singer. Her music is, I don't know, it's pop music. I don't know how to
Okay.
characterize it,
Right.
because I would have to know a lot more about current music to know what there's this genre and that genre or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And I just don't. I like to connect with people on an individual level about music
Right.
instead of having. I spend a lot of time avoiding the 24-hour media cycle.
Hmm.
Um, it drives me absolutely insane. It's a place
Hmm.
full of anxiety and terror and hatred
Hmm.
and bullshit and money and power and domination and cruelty and a bunch of other things like that are, important to pay attention to, but things that I don't want to absorb myself in and allow it to kind of poison my soul. Now, I'm not being irresponsible and ignoring what's going on in the world by saying that. You know,
Right.
I try to do my part.
That's sort of why I'm sure many of us have just sort of immersed ourselves in like these alternative media streams like Twitch, and I've watched that 100 times more than I watch actual regular television these days,
Yeah,
just in avoidance of that kind of poisonous content.
yeah.
With Twitch comes community as well, though. And that's one thing that I appreciate about it for sure.
Yeah, we're just sort of riding on the coattails because Twitch, the company, couldn't give a shit about community, but
Right.
we can build
Fair.
our own. We're in the
Yeah.
margins of it. They don't care about tiny streamers, hardly at all. I mean, they care
Right.
about liability, but other than that, we're just going to be able to do whatever the fuck we want to, and that's good.
Right. Yeah, I
Fair.
guess I hope that continues because I don't know. I haven't followed it very closely, but it sounds like there's been some increased legislation that sort of advocates for more censorship and stuff like that. And I don't know how well. I mean, the internet is so vast and stuff like that. I mean, it's not like it could be policed in the first fucking place, but it's there.
Yeah.
Cool, man. I'm just so excited that we have you on here. So, like, your history as an artist is like you were involved. Do you want to talk about your involvement with the band from the '90s?
The
Yeah,
band Hum.
yeah.
A little bit, I guess. I was in a band called Designer Mustard Gas, which was an industrial noise band. We were not very popular. And there was a little audio blip there.
Yeah, I heard it too. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, can back up a little bit.
But yeah, so Designer Mustard Gas?
Designer Mustard Gas was an industrial noise band that I was in. Not popular. In fact, we tried to annoy people on stage and stuff like that. And there was a guy in it named Andy Switsky. And Andy, who had been in this other band called Obvious Man, told me about... oh my God, I'm remembering it completely wrong. Andy told me about Hum. Like, I already knew Andy from Designer Mustard Gas, but he told me about Hum, and he introduced me to Matt Talbot, the lead singer of Hum. And the two of them, I think, were the founders of the band. And it was like a very punk, but kind of like proto-grunge type of music. This was back in 1988 or 89 maybe. And they were going through bassists really quickly, and they had gone through about 137 bassists, and I was the 138th. And no, they hadn't really gone through that many bassists, but they needed a bassist. I played lots of instruments, so I decided to join the band and play bass because it was in part Andy's band, and the music was super loud and really simplistic music. Like, it was just like two notes on the bass over and over again, and but it was like, it was cool. The people were cool. I thought, I write songs, this band will play my songs, and that didn't really go very well. So after a while, I was just writing songs that they didn't want to play because it didn't go along with the sound of the band. Because you know me, I write lots of different kinds of songs, and they didn't want to be that kind of band that was like, oh, let's make an arrangement for this song that's like true to how the song is, and let's do that. And then for this other song, we'll take that song and, for what it is, make an arrangement of it and play that. That's one way to make music. The other way to make music is, we're a band, we sound like this, and this is our sound. And then when we write a song, it's in our band's sound, which is a unique, special sound. That's the kind of band they were. And it was not the kind of band that I could function in as a songwriter. Because I would just write songs and they would just reject them. And then I'm like, wait, who's in charge of this band, right?
Right.
Is the fact that I'm contributing something valuable to the band or not? And again, whose band is it? Who's the one making the editorial decisions? And so it was a typical power struggle between, a bunch of dudes who had
Mhm.
egos, and myself included.
Right.
And it was just one of those, and that's never fun.
Mm.
And it has to get resolved. And in the case of Hum, it got resolved because it was Matt's band, and Matt did incredible things. Matt and Brian St. Pierre, the drummer, and the guys who they brought into that band did incredible things. I think they sounded great. I think they were a good band. In retrospect, at the time I was bitter,
Right.
but
You
I
still
was
talk to
also
those guys?
like 19 years old, so whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I haven't talked to Matt in a long time, but he's a nice guy, and I communicated a little bit online after Brian St. Pierre died in 2020.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was only like 50 years old or something.
Dang.
Um, and they had just put out an album, the first album in 23 years, called Inlet, which is a good album. I really liked it.
Mm.
Um, and it was not really hugely different from their older music, which turned into a kind of like a shoegaze, kind of fuzzy shoegaze type of melodic sort of vibe.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's good stuff. But I quit before that I was on a record.
Yeah, that was the thing. First of all, I was kind of embarrassed. I couldn't remember their name when I went to ask you about it. I was thinking him, and I'm like, it's not him. And anyways, but for
Right.
some reason, I was like really into a lot of music that was similar to their sound. But for some reason, they were off my radar back in the day. But they kind of they blew up. They were on MTV and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And that was just after you left.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah, they put out an album first that was, whatever, but then didn't it wasn't huge, didn't have a hit. But then their second album, they had the song Stars, which was a college radio hit. I would hear it on the radio. And
Yeah, and you said at that point in time, were you a little bitter about it, or?
yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. I was like, it wasn't
Who
that I
wouldn't be,
wanted.
really?
Well, I don't know. It's like because I didn't. It wasn't just about the musical difference that I had with Matt and the rest of the band. It was the fact that I didn't want to be a touring rock musician. I
Right.
didn't want to live that life. So the fact
Mm.
that I didn't get to do it is not something that upsets me or I'm bitter about. Because if I
Yeah.
had wanted to do that, I absolutely could have done that. I could have joined some other band,
Right.
which I
Yeah.
didn't. I decided to go to college and study music instead of being in a band.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wonder. It's a really common dream. That kids you want to be in a band, you want to be a rock star, but you don't really know how. As a kid, like it's kind of cool that you put enough thought in it to realize what that life would be like, and that it wasn't for you. But I don't know. Like, I wonder how many stories you hear about tragic outcomes have to do with the fact that um, they go into that, they don't actually know what it's going to be, and then they're stuck in that lifestyle, and even though they're successful, they're not happy. So
Well, I don't know a whole lot about Hum's trajectory because again, I kind of I kind of slammed the door pretty hard on that when I left to go to college. On my whole rock band experience, really, I didn't do much rock band stuff in college. I was doing other things musically, but yeah, um, I lost my train of thought. Being in bands was something that was really, really rewarding to me, but it was just filled full of drama.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Like we told you, we usually go for about an hour, and we've gotten kind of close, and I don't think we've really covered 5% of what we were hoping to. So, like, if you want to go longer, I'm open to it and stuff like that. And
You'll have to figure out how to edit it down, but I can go as long as you want.
I don't think we're set on an hour. I think we went an hour and 20 minutes, and last one.
With
I
Aaron,
think it
we
was
did.
just more about just trying to pick a time that most get would accommodate guests more than like we have a
Mhm.
format like that. So,
Yeah.
does that sound good to you too, Des?
Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying myself. So,
Yeah, same.
Great,
Uh,
great. Yeah, I'm enjoying this too. So I just don't know how to bound it into, a box.
yeah. We don't got to try to put it in a box. We'll just let it flow. Well, let's. I guess the other thing I did want to talk about is just sort of your career now, it sounds really interesting to me. So you're involved in uh, sort of well, Woods Hole Institute, is that correct? And sort of underwater research.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I should talk about it. It's not
Okay,
secret work. It's open work. It's science. I can talk in general terms about it, about
sure, sure,
oceanography and technology and oceanography, because
sure.
that's my area. It's a fascinating field, um,
Hmm.
Right.
and it's also important. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure. But it's so I guess you're involved with sort of robotics and autonomous vehicles that survey the ocean floor or something like that. Is that saying too much? I can edit whatever out.
yeah, sure. There's those are some technologies. I'm a software guy, so they
Right.
all and all of the devices that operate in the ocean, the robotic, the however automated they are. Some of them are done very manually. Some of them are fully automated. Um, they generate floods of data that needs to be analyzed, and so we need to do that. And there's so much data that you can't look at all by hand. So you need to have algorithms and machine learning and AI to understand the data and to build data products that you can use to do science with. So, like if you have, say, a billion images of plankton and you know when and where each one was taken, and then you can sift through them all with a computer that can sort them into different categories. And then you know what's going on in the ocean with respect to those plankton. Um, certain species operates in this way in the ocean. You see certain conditions in the ocean, and then it affects them in such and such a way, and you can, what's going on in the environment. Then you can figure out where the fish are going. You can figure out where the carbon is going. You can figure out where the heat in the ocean is going, and that's done with physics and geology and chemistry and biology um, and engineering to build the devices that go and make the measurements. And it's very challenging to do. The sea is incredibly dangerous, not dangerous, but it's a hostile environment for any kind of equipment or people to be in.
Or
Right.
Um, and so it takes a lot of sophisticated engineering to operate efficiently at sea and get the data back. And it's an enormous amount of work that people put into it, and people risk their lives operating at sea, to get some of this data because it's dangerous to work on a boat. You have to put
Mhm.
huge pieces of equipment off the side of the boat and bring them back on, and it's like you have to not fall off of the boat and things like that.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. It's just the intersection of all those different disciplines, and that must keep it fresh and be, as you said, extremely challenging. Um,
That's why I
and
like it because there's so many different disciplines, and I get to learn a little bit about this and a little bit about that, just enough to help them. I
right,
don't have to go through some long academic program to learn about a certain kind of pufferfish. Like I could meet the expert in the world's top expert in pufferfish, and they could show me some pictures of them and explain a little bit about them and say, I
that's
need this
cool.
database. And I build this database for them, and we're all happy. And I've learned a little bit about pufferfish now.
Yeah, that's cool. So I guess the primary mission, it's a nonprofit, right? And is their
Yeah.
primary mission preservation?
Yeah, it's to basically save the ocean and the planet. So that sounds like a pretty tall order, but to do that, you need to have the best understanding you possibly can of the ocean and about how it's going to affect things and what's going to affect it. So you have
That's
to
awesome.
do the basic science in order to answer those questions.
That's really cool.
Um,
And then of course you can see how like that influenced the setting of your Peach Ops project.
well, I mean, there's a direct connection.
Right.
So
Mhm.
my friend whose screen name is Carl Sagan was a submarine pilot at my institution, and we started joking about embezzling submarine parts. And then, if we had embezzled enough submarine parts, we could build our own submarine facility. And that's the birth of the undersea lair narrative. It wasn't really entirely my idea. It was something that it was an in joke at my job
Awesome, man.
that
Yeah, I
I
had no
kind of
That's
idea about
picked
that.
great.
up on.
I'm glad you
Yeah,
shared that.
yeah. No, and it was really fun to hang out with the sub pilots. They were incredible people. I mean, they're like astronauts. They go down to the bottom of the ocean. As you know from recent news events, it's not easy to make a sub that can go deep in the ocean and that is safe. and
Right.
our sub has been in operation since the 60s, and it's been 0 deaths, and it's dived, thousands and thousands of times. So,
Oh wow.
um,
Nice.
people
Yeah, I
should come
wasn't
to
sure.
us if they're interested in operating in the deep ocean.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, like, do you know if anyone that works with you guys is involved in the certification process that was sort of circumvented by the sub that I forget the
I
name
mean,
of the
our sub is
organization.
all certified. Our sub
Right.
has all these certifications.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Cool, man. Well,
I don't know if I'm talking out of school here, but that's just some stuff
yeah,
about
I like
work.
stuff. Well, I don't know, man. You're just an interesting
It's
guy. You have a
fascinating,
lot going on.
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So one thing uh, that I don't know how to dance around it. So like you operate as Peach Ops online, and you've been somewhat coy about using your real name, and but a lot of your music that I kind of wanted to talk about today has been published under your real name. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's cool if I disclose that and we play some stuff and talk about it.
Well, gosh, let's talk about this for 5 seconds, right? So,
Sure.
like, I have no idea who listens to this podcast, so that's why it's difficult for me to answer that question, right?
Um,
So,
right. Well, at the moment, uh, I think the majority of the viewers would be coming from probably Desiree's world of Vermin Supreme and stuff like that. I posted on my Twitch channel, and she shares it there, and we kind of have a small viewership at the moment. But you put stuff out there, who knows what happens?
yeah,
But
no,
Desiree, do you
that's
want to
all.
talk about who you think's going to see it?
No, it's okay. We don't have to talk about that much more.
Okay.
I just I meant that almost rhetorically to say,
Oh, okay.
how do I think about this issue of sort of doxing on Twitch? Because
Right.
it's
Hmm.
I'm not used to that world, right? I've in my attempt to put my stuff out there, I've put it under my real name, just like Aaron Goldberg does,
Right.
if that is his real name.
I, I didn't ask him that. I don't even know. I assume it is.
It's easy to make assumptions about people. So, like, I've put it out under my real name, and I guess we can talk about that. And I guess it links it all together. So, eventually, some AI will watch this podcast and we'll put it all together.
Well,
And
if you're um, in IT at all, then like you're gonna know a little bit about information security and all the terrible things that can happen. And so even from just that standpoint, without any other personal stuff going on, it can be scary. So like
yeah,
I'm here as Bonus Creature, for fuck's sake. So
yeah,
I get it. My real name's
We had a
Kyle
whole
Moore, but
conversation about, whether we were going to do artist names, real names, and I was like, I just like my real name. I'm not creative enough to come up with an artist name, but yours is cool. Let's use yours.
yeah, that's the thing about your real name is so kick-ass. Okay, so I'm going to pull up. I just realized I don't have a means to share. Yeah, I can probably share the screen. So this might be where it gets clunky and maybe I edit it down a little bit.
okay.
But let me just go over here. I've got the most ridiculous setup right now. The screen is like way over here. So let me see if I can find the tab here and share the screen that I'm about to play audio from. But it's published on Bandcamp at
Yeah. So, look, just please feel free to go ahead and use my real name. This is fine.
okay.
The only thing that I'm concerned about is simply my employer, because sometimes I talk about oceanography. I think I can talk freely about oceanography.
Right.
So I don't work on any secret projects or anything like that.
I've never
So
heard you say anything but, very positive things about your employer and your career. So I can't imagine
oh, it's
anyone would
great.
care. And I've
Yeah.
been watching you for a couple of years. So let's see here. Well, anyways, your name is Joe Futrell. If you go to um, joefutrell.bandcamp.com, and I don't have a good way to show text right now, but I can edit it in. But what I'm going to try to do is what I just said and switch over to a screen share. So hang on while I Google Chrome would like to record this. Oh goodness, all this. It's like I
Oh,
appreciate
hello.
the security
This is Chuck.
protections, but now I have to type my password. Let me mute my mic.
Yes, because you can tell just from the sound of typing what the password is.
Damn.
I would show off
So, yeah,
my dog.
Chuck.
Yeah. Oh,
Chuck.
nice. There's Chuck. Hey, Chuck.
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 Okay, let's see here. It's telling me I might have to restart Chrome, so we'll see what happens. But I mean, we don't specifically need the video. I could just play the audio if this doesn't work. But
I'm bracing myself for whatever
yeah, I'm
song
so sorry
this
to
is going
drag
to
this
be.
out. I'm just gonna pick. I'll probably just start. So the thing is the first thing I came across. Well, the funny thing is, I can give some background on even discovering your real name. Is you revealed that you were in that band Hum. And when I first
Yes.
tried to look you up, I looked on the Wikipedia article, and I was just doing this because you said you had other music out there, and well, then I talked to you directly or whatever.
Stalkerish, BC.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, it's a little
Yeah.
stalkerish, but it was like just following through on what you disclosed, and I was interested in your music. It wasn't weird, I promise.
You
So
don't think it's
weird.
weird.
So
I don't
weird.
think it's weird. Let's see. I don't know if this is going to work very well, actually. Hang on. Let me just play the damn music and not worry about sharing the screen. Sorry. But
Yeah, no need
anyways,
to
I look
share
up
the
the
screen.
Wikipedia article of Hum, and I see bassist, and what's the guy's name? Yakis Boyatsis? Did I say it correctly? Is that right?
I don't know that
There was another
person
bassist
even.
they had that I thought that I was like, well, here, that's an odd name. I wouldn't have guessed that. And I looked him up, and it's this guy from Greece, and he
Hmm.
has some music out there, and it's like Greek folk music. And I was like, well, it sounds pretty cool, but it's like kind of surprised. And it wasn't you at all. And then I don't know what I did to finally figure out that there was another bassist that left. I guess I was just going through the names. I wasn't stalking you, but I was going through the names.
You
But
were
anyways,
attempting to unsuccessfully
yeah. So
at
then
that
I
time.
found, yeah, I think I found you on SoundCloud first. But this is on your. You have a chronology album, 1986 to 2002 on Bandcamp.
I put that out on my 50th birthday, and
Really?
it's extensively curated from a very large back catalog, and it does cover those years. There wasn't anything new to put on it when I was 50, you know,
Oh, okay.
past the date that's in the chronology, because I just didn't have something that I wanted to put on it from that time
Awesome.
period.
Well, I'm just going to kind of go down the list here. I'm just going to start with Ulaanbaatar because I think this is a pretty punk song.
Oh
And I don't
no.
have a good means to like fade it in right now. It's just going to come in. So,
All right. Oh my god.
Well, yeah. Well, sitting here looking back on all these gas. Here in New Patrol. I'm waiting for the rest of the door to attack. Here in New Patrol. The Americans are gone and I'm here by myself. Here in New Patrol. Take the big black box off the bottom shelf. Here in New Patrol. Well, Genghis Khan would be proud. But we don't move in his crowd. You know, that stuff's not allowed. Here in New Patrol. Here in New Patrol.
but yeah, tell me about that song. That's a kick-ass song.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that
that
was
song,
awesome.
thank you. That song was written when I was like probably 16 or 17 years old, probably 16. It's based on a geography report I had to do about the capital of I had to do it about Mongolia. And
Nice.
so the capital of Mongolia is Ulaanbaatar. And I learned about it that they had a rock band. There was like a Mongolian rock band. I read it in some old article about Mongolia from some really old National Geographic because I was a high school student and I didn't want to actually do the assignment. I just had to look for some source that has some information about Mongolia in it. But then I got inspired by the fact that there was a rock band in Mongolia. So I wrote this song and co-wrote it with my friend Rick. So it's not all my music there. But and then I came up with a sort of pseudo-espionage plot or whatever that I used to write the lyrics, and it was a lot of fun to record. We recorded it in his bedroom.
Oh, nice.
On the third floor of their house. Their house was built so that it was surrounded by all these trees and had a balcony, and we would record out on the balcony sometimes.
Oh, killer. What kind of equipment did you record it with?
Oh, that's a cassette 4-track, you know.
Oh, nice.
This was 1986.
Right on, man. Little test cam.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. All right, let's I don't want to skip over this one because I now know pi to like 7 digits or something, because whatever it is.
We're still back in 1986 now.
I'm gonna have to start skipping some, but I just hate to because I really like all of this is such good stuff. So yeah, this is 3.14159265535. You know, it just occurred to me that I could back the volume down a little bit and we could talk over while it plays. Let me see what I can do here. Okay, I'm just gonna.
Oh, it's awesome.
Is that the same friend that you wrote that with?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And he is a playwright and composer now, and off-Broadway musical person.
Oh, cool.
So we made a lot of music together. He was a big influence on me.
Oh, sweet, man. What was his name again? Do you want to
disclose? His name is Rick Burkhardt, and he's a composer and has done some musicals and mostly avant-garde stuff. But he's also a brilliant songwriter. Always has been ever since he was like 2 years old, 1 year old, 0. He came out of the womb writing songs.
Awesome. Was there a sort of academic reason that you needed to memorize pi to a certain number of digits that led to this, or?
That's just the kind of high school I went to. We were all memorizing pi.
Right on. Okay. This is a little different than my high school. Let me see what I can do really quick to get the proper player up where I have audio. I usually listen to Bandcamp using the mobile app. Oh, shit. Oh, come on, man. Oh, you know what? I can do it in loopback. I'm just going to back it off a little bit. That way, if we want to talk while it plays. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, and I'm going to probably just play 1 or 2 more off this album, although, like, you know, it's like 30 years of creation. Like, all these are so good. There was one that you said had particular meaning that I'll get to. But I want to just mention, this is one that I just liked it, and I've started covering it, probably poorly, but this is called Eggshell Mind. I hate to even stop these.
Oh, you've sent me those. I guess I've heard you cover it.
Yeah, it's a good song.
I felt the tug of shattered hands and seen the fleas that clog the hourglasses. listens.
All right. You want to say anything about that one?
Yeah, so the phrase eggshell mind comes from my friend William. He was a poet, and that phrase really stuck in my head. And I wrote that song when I was living in the Boston area when I was, again, probably around 18 years old. These are all very old songs. And, it was about missing him, really. And because I was living in the Boston area and he was still living in Illinois. And it just uses a lot of psychedelic imagery, because that was kind of we were both into that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, I really like it.
Thank you.
Dipped your hands in the
It's really
effervescent pools.
The pearly effervescent pools.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very simple song, but it works.
Yeah. I put a tablature of that one out in ultimateguitar.com, which I have no affiliation with and often curse thereat, but it's out there. Let's see. What? There's just so many good ones. Which one did I want to talk about? Mr. Blame, I was really digging the other day. I was really curious about this one.
Wow, I haven't heard this in forever.
Open doors all around the floor. I want to run away. Mr. Blame is on the loose. He came here to break the chain. He's ticked off, picked up my cues. I think I'm on the hit list. On scapegoat time, he's way behind. Whose fault is it today? Mr. Blame's burning down my house, using kerosene to douse frustration. Blame is our responsibility.
I had to let it get to the dousing kerosene part.
Awesome. Awesome.
Well, I haven't heard that in so long.
Yeah, what was the inspiration for that?
Oh, I think it was some interpersonal thing where somebody was blaming me for something and I was really annoyed by it.
Right.
Like those kind of situations would somehow trigger songs for me, some kind of situation where I would have some pent up feeling about somebody or something or some interaction, and it would just come out in a song.
Sweet.
Instead of directly. Yeah,
it's really cool. I like the imagery, and I mean, you definitely sense the sort of I don't know, would it be fair to call it passive aggressive nature of the lyrical content?
yeah.
I really dug it. So I skipped over Light Chartreuse. I really like that, but I also don't want to play the entire album and take too much of your time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you which ones you might want to highlight on here.
So one that I would like to highlight is Newsweek and Time.
Okay. Let's play a little of that. what would you like to highlight about that one? I really like the message about, you
It's
know,
a
yeah,
it's
avoiding
an
some of
anti
those things.
it's an anti-war song. Basically, it's an anti-war song, and it's got sort of oblique lyrics, and it calls out various things without really going into any kind of detail about them. But for me, really, that one is about the music and about the interlocking parts of the bass line and the piano part and the organ part and stuff like that I put together in a way that I think is a little different than a lot of my other songs. So that one sticks with me. And if I try to figure out how to play it on a guitar, I can barely do it. Right? It's just got too many parts going into other parts that are all melodic and happening at the same time. So but I like the song too. Just the bare bones of the song are ones that I want to be able to play on a guitar or something. But that one, kind of languished for a long time, and it took me a while to put the vocal on it. And it's kind of like a one that hasn't, that like Rick, for example, hadn't even heard it until he listened to Chronology. So I'm really glad I kind of dug it up.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
nice.
wow.
Yeah.
When you
When
say
did you
dug it
put
up,
that one out?
yeah, go ahead.
So I mean, it didn't go anywhere where it was accessible until um, until my 50th birthday. So
Oh, wow. Okay. So it was just
yeah,
unreleased, and that was when you first.
yeah. Because what does it
That's
mean to release something when you're a kid recording something on his 4-track? It meant that I figured out how to make copies of cassettes and like
Yep.
sell them for 50 cents to other kids at school. And then it was like get some local record store to carry the cassette, and like two people would find out about it, or start a band and then like sell the cassette at the show or something like that. But now it's just put it out on the internet, and maybe somebody will pay attention to it and maybe they won't. And for a long
Right.
time, even in the 90s, when I would put things up on the internet, and I didn't know how many people downloaded them or listened to them. For all I know, it could have been like some or none, or I had no idea. And like when
Mhm.
I had a radio show, I had no idea who was listening. And now it's totally different. Like you get like a real time count of who's paying attention to you, and you get all these stats and metrics and everything. You're supposed to push all your numbers up. And it wasn't like that when I was growing up being a musician at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, awesome. Um,
It is a different world.
Yeah.
so I'm just sort of sitting here, kind of having a panic attack that I uh, recorded this long, and earlier I didn't see the files growing, so I think I might just stop the recording and restart it, just so we have some smaller files to deal with.
Sounds
So
good.
let me do that real quick.
Fair.
Button is hit. Okay. Okay, so the song I skipped over earlier that I wanted to ask you about is Light Chartreuse. And this is one that I'd really like to cover because I just really like it, and I must have listened to it 50 times trying to memorize the lyrics. I think I finally
Hmm.
did, but maybe. Anyways, here we go.
Ducks were ducking from the bombing rain, avoiding Christian Science Wonder Bread. To them the monolith of wetness was exactly like a waterbed. Tourists and fusion students banged out rhythms on a water drum. To me it sounded like a dirge to drive me to delirium. Take my shoes off, pull my hair, to find what's tangled in me. Where the thoughts, they're sticky and obtuse, and I can't wash them out. Void my checkbook, change my name, just so that it's not the same. The status quo is light chartreuse, a graying rainbow trout.
Love that song.
Thank you.
What was your motivation with this one?
I'm very proud of that song, actually, and not of that recording. That recording
Mm.
was just a demo, and it was supposed to be a rocker. It's supposed to be like it's supposed to have a band
Oh,
behind it.
okay.
It's supposed to be like a jangly pop song, right? And so that's kind of what I had in mind, and that's kind of doesn't totally come through on that demo, which was just a boombox, so I could remember the song.
Okay.
Um, but it's a love song. It's a love song, and my girlfriend at the time was somebody who I was hanging out with while she was at Harvard in Boston, and we would go to the Christian Science Center where they have a big reflecting pool there. It's right near downtown, right near the Berklee School of Music and the old Tower Records, where the old Tower Records used to be. And it's this massive horizontal reflecting pool. And then the mother church is this big ornate piece of architecture. And they have a brutalist skyscraper on there too. And they're all part of the same like Christian Science mother church thing. I'm not a Christian Scientist. I don't have, the song isn't about Christian Science or anything. Um, it's about that part of Boston and being there and being in love there. Um,
Awesome. Yeah, there's like a lot of imagery that just gives the impression that it's like a snapshot in time.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's just a slice of life.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I love it. And then there's statements about, I don't know, just can't find my words, Joe, but like I don't know, just society at large and in sort of a capitalist society, maybe. I don't know. It's a little too
Yeah,
general than what I was trying to express, but yeah, I just love the song. And oh, the avoiding Christian Science Wonder Bread, like you made.
yeah.
I don't know. I googled this because like, what the hell does Christian Science have to do with Wonder Bread? And I got some results
Well,
about
Oh, what?
you're not gonna find them. I mean, that lyric is about people throwing bread at the ducks at the
really.
reflecting pool because that's what the ducks.
Well, there is some weird connection with
Oh.
Christian Science and Wonder Bread. I don't quite remember what it is,
Oh,
but
interesting.
it's some sort of.
Huh.
I don't remember what it. I'll have to look it up again. But
Yeah, it's about feeding the ducks at the reflecting
okay,
pool at
okay,
this.
yeah. Isn't it funny that like that's the thing when you try
That's
to just
great.
sort of take a guess at what something might mean, you're often wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean that's
Mhm.
what's awesome about music is it can just mean whatever it means to people too.
Well, and when I write lyrics, I'm just sort of mashing together different things and trying to put
Yeah,
them together so that in some new way,
right on.
because there's so many songs that just have the same type of sentiments expressed over and over again, and so I'm trying to do something like a little more poetic. I
Yeah,
try. I mean, I'm not that great a writer, but I've by really by really focusing on lyrics, I'm actually able to write some, but they don't come naturally to me at all. It's like pulling teeth.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, you wouldn't know it by listening to it, but
Sorry.
um, it sounds like it just flows. But also very deliberate, you know. I mean, like it does come across as very poetic and well thought out and stuff. So, um, what
Yeah, I
else?
have to think about each word because they don't come out naturally.
Yeah. How long do you spend on a given song? On like, do you remember how long that one in particular took to write?
So it can be very quick. It can all come together in a couple hours, uh, but it can take years too. So, like an idea of a
Mm.
song that just doesn't find the completion that it needs, and then it sits in my back catalog, and I look at it every once in a while. And that's this song from the Hockey Stoppers called "Be Seeing You." I wrote the music to it um, 20 years ago, and then I
Oh
wrote
wow.
words. Then I wrote words to it a couple of years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just sitting there. I knew the music was good, but I could not think of any kind of words for it. And so
Yeah.
then when the Hockey Stoppers came around and we needed a bunch of songs, I started digging through my back catalog because, of just having writer's block to some extent. And I was able to squeeze out just like enough songs for one short album.
How did you? keep track of the. Did you just record a demo that you came back to?
Yeah, and it was a demo that didn't have any lyrics.
Right.
It just had the melody and the chords.
Was that something that was on tape, I guess?
Yeah.
So you just kind of dug through a stack of old tapes.
Well, actually, maybe that wasn't a tape because actually that goes back to 2000. No, that goes back to like, yeah, probably 1998 or something. And so
Cool.
it might have been on a computer that I
Yeah.
recorded it, but it was some file sitting in a file of unfinished songs, and I've still got that folder of unfinished songs, and I
Awesome.
still haven't finished some of them.
Well, you should. What else? Well, you know what? I might come back to this, but I want to go ahead and I want to talk about the Hockey Stoppers too, because I really like this album, and this is a lot more
Thank you.
recent. This was released, was
In
it?
2020,
Oh, really? Okay, I
yeah,
was thinking it was even more recent than that, but still. But yeah, it's a great album, and this one you actually collaborated with a friend on.
yeah, yeah. We the two of us got together, not physically at all. It was all done remotely
Oh, I
during
didn't know that.
COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all done remotely because it was COVID and it was our COVID album, right? So we put it out because we were stuck at home, musicians stuck at home wanting to do something.
Right.
Um,
That definitely comes through in a couple songs. It's like explicit. That's what the subject matter is, I think.
yeah, for sure.
Let me find the album. The Hockey Stoppers. This is again the one I found it on Bandcamp. I don't know if it's published elsewhere.
It isn't.
Okay, well, it's the hockeystoppers.bandcamp.com. The album is called pardon me, An Occasional Flash of Self-Awareness, which is a really cool album name. Uh,
Mhm.
Let me play a little of it, and then I'll ask you some more questions. Um, I didn't even ask you permission, I don't think, but I often will use this as the intro music when I just stream to people on Twitch, but I always give you attribution for what it's worth.
Oh, okay.
Away down to the hide, away down flights of stairs. That's where nobody goes, nobody but you. You threw life's cares away. Let's say nobody, nobody can pay. Nobody knew, nobody but me. You see, behind it all, it's me. And overall, I'd say average returns aren't worth it at all. You fall down on your
So
own.
I was just kind of wanting to let it get to the chorus.
Everything,
It takes a while.
Yeah, yeah.
everything's wrong. Nothing contends. Nobody pretends anymore. Pretends anymore. Been here before, and it's all you. So never again. So close to the end. No one defends you. It's all you. So rare.
I hate to even interrupt that one, but yeah, I love the "Nobody Pretends Anymore" line.
Me
It's
too. That was great.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I mean that song is actually from a very cynical perspective, but it's not from a character who I identify with. It's from a different kind of persona. It's a
Okay.
if you listen if you the lyrics are like talking to somebody and saying, "Look, um, I'm behind all of this, and um, I'm not getting what I need from you, and I don't even care anymore. And that's that's not something I identify with. It's sort of set up to be like somebody who's higher up in a power structure who no longer respects you or has any use for you. Maybe sometimes I've been felt like people have made me feel like that, and so I wanted to like grab that onto that persona and write a song from that perspective. But
Oh wow.
I don't think that necessarily comes through. I think when
Yeah,
people
yeah.
listen, I think when people listen to a song, they kind of assume that the protagonist of the song is supposed to be relatable, and right?
Right. Yeah. But you can treat it like any other kind of literature, and that not be the case. I
Yeah,
definitely didn't interpret it that way, so I'll have to listen to it with that in mind next time.
yeah.
That's really cool. We talked about. Oh well, I forget what I was going to ask you after that played. Now, oh, I was going to just ask you about the name of the band, the Hockey Stoppers. What
Hockey
is the meaning behind
stoppers.
that? Yeah, yeah.
It's another in joke.
Okay.
Tim is a big sports fan. Um, I'm not a sports fan, and so I make jokes about not knowing a damn thing about sports, and so we would start talking about the hockey game on TV, and I'm like, oh, did the team do a hockey yet? No, they didn't do a hockey because the hockey stopper stopped them from doing a hockey. He's like, they've done two hockeys, we've done one hockey. How many
It's
hockeys
like
did
the
they just
sports
do?
ball thing. Yeah.
It's like sports ball, yeah. And so it's so funny because we just
Right.
crack ourselves up doing that. And actually, one of my friends hates that joke and thinks that it's really stupid. And but we just cracked ourselves up about it. So we called ourselves the Hockey Stoppers.
I've got a good friend that used to be my roommate for a while, and he's a hockey fan. And I try to watch a little bit of hockey to talk about it with him, but I've just never really. My thing about watching sports is I just have a hard time identifying with the outcome in any way. Like I just don't give a shit. Even if it's supposed to be my team, I'm not playing the game. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm
I'm with
not
you.
into sports at all. I remember when I was like 14 or so reading the real Frank Zappa book, which was like an autobiography of sorts, but there was this chapter in it called America Drinks and Goes Marching. And it pretty much sums up how I feel about sports. But I
Nice.
used to be like pretty obsessed with hockey, honestly.
Hmm.
I'm from New England. It's like in our blood.
Yeah,
That's
of most sports,
Not
it's one of
yours,
my
apparently.
favorites. Cool. Well, okay, we talked about this being a COVID album. I think. Oh man. Again, a lot of these I don't know by the title so well, so I'm struggling to remember which. Well, I think Soup is the one I'm wanting to play right now. Let's see.
Soup is the yeah.
Is it?
It's
It's the COVID song.
it's absolutely the COVID song. Yeah.
Okay.
Dang.
I barely remember how we believed in the way that we lived and the things we received that were taken for granted. Take it or leave, and the end of the day could be all we achieve. Are you grateful for that, or do you feel useless? You feel useless. Closing the window, muting your mic, deleting reactions, rescinding your likes, and you're throwing a tarp on your exercise bike. Inspiration you had is refusing to strike. Can you wait anymore, or is this your normal, your new normal? Walking in town with
Yeah, I think that was obviously a COVID song to me, and it's really really beautiful song too.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you
Yeah.
totally sent me that. He sent me that. It's a really good song.
Thank you.
He's like, I
I'm
can't
also.
stop listening to this. Okay, sorry, I'm talking over everybody.
No, you're not.
Yeah. No. It was like it was inspired by a friend of mine who was really struggling during that period, and told me I feel useless, and that really really hit me. I was like, I completely understand how you feel. It's so relatable, feeling useless and helpless, and that's the feeling. That was
Right.
the feeling, and has been the feeling, and something that everybody was trying to put up with all by themselves, all at the same time, without being able to gather together and talk to people about things. And we all know what happened in COVID. We all had our own experiences, but there's that experience of helplessness that I really kind of glommed onto and tried to write a song about. And that's near and dear to me because I've suffered from depression for many years, and it's completely treated now. I've been fine. Thank you. I've been fine for a long time. Like, but it was a long road to finding treatment that worked. So
Right.
I have lots of battle scars and stories to tell about that. And so some of that
That is
comes out in this
amazing.
music.
Yeah, there's a line in the song that we didn't get to, but it says talking you down from the ledge that, and you expected to say the ledge that you're on, but you say the ledge that we're on until later in the song. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because
really good.
that's what you have to do sometimes when people are in that desperate situation. You have to talk them down.
Hmm.
You have to say, "Come on, it's like you're not useless. You matter. You're valuable."
Yeah, and we're all going through that same thing, to
Yeah,
some extent. So
yeah,
not to trivialize someone else's feelings, but it's like I think that's usually a route to sort of help someone cope is just let them know that they're not in it alone. So
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
um, what other song? They're just all so good. So well, I don't know that I gave you a chance. You said that you wrote this with your friend Tim. Did you mention his last name? Do you want to mention his last name? Is it on here?
It's on there. It's
Yeah,
McKiernan. Tim
Yeah,
McKiernan.
McKierney.
McKiernan.
How
He's
do
a
you know Tim?
local. So he's a local gigging musician, and I know him because he used to work as a cook at a bar that I was a regular
Oh,
at,
cool.
and he started an open mic
Oh,
in
nice.
2016, and just I don't know why he started this open mic, but he did, and like a few of us actually showed up and played, and he really, really, really encouraged me to do that, something that I hadn't done in years. So I've been really close with him ever since. And during COVID, we got a lot closer, because we needed somebody to talk to.
Right.
And, he has a tough life in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
Um, and he's dirt poor, for example. Like he's just basically dirt broke. And, lives with his family and stuff like that. And I'm not going to go into great detail about Tim's life, but, it's the kind of thing where, having an outlet like music is really critical to his sanity. And so
Awesome.
he's always like, I'm going to record an album about this, or like something that happened to me today. I'm going to record an album about that. Like his whole way of thinking about something is that I'm going to write a song about this, or I'm going to record an album about this, or I have 5 songs ready to go and I'm going to put out these EPs and everything. It's like, it's just his brain just operates that way. And so it's like he was pushing to actually do something instead of me sitting around thinking, well, this stuff's not that good. And
Right.
I'm like, I haven't written a song in a while or whatever. And he was just like, no, we're going to do this. So we did it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what's cool about just kind of coming together on the internet with other musicians and artists. Aside from just experiencing what they're doing, like that, you get that support. And of course, this wasn't you met in person and stuff like that, but that as well. Like I've done a couple open mics recently, and yeah, man, it's like that's one thing I didn't expect was just how well for me, like most of the people there, are the other artists, and they're just always so cool about what you're doing, whether you're good or whether you're a beginner or you've been doing it a long time. Like they're just so supportive.
I'm glad you found that because that was not the case at this open mic. There were some musicians who showed up who were frankly kind of egotistical
Oh,
people
really?
and hard to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess both
Would make
exists.
snarky comments. And it's like,
Ah,
what the hell
What
kind
the
of town?
hell?
What the hell kind of town do you think you're living in? Like
right. What do
this
you
is a
think this
tiny
is?
town.
It's
Like
a
anybody who does any music is like, wow, I'm so glad that you exist, right?
right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because I've heard people say like I don't know, like I was saying, I don't even remember the exact circumstances, but it was like an instance where an artist was talking down on their own work, and I had witnessed like many people like praising them in this situation. I said, well, everyone liked it, and they were just like, oh, they're just other artists, and it's it's like, but to
Dang.
me that should be. But I get where they're coming from, is that they think it's not genuine praise, but like that's just one way to look at it. But the other way to look at it is they know what it is to make music and they like what you're doing, so it should mean as much or more to you, So it's just
Yeah.
funny how you can sort of perceive a situation in different ways, and like that's part of the human condition, is trying to like especially if you struggle with depression, is sort of keep that in check.
Yeah.
I would like to play one of Tim's songs on this album before we close it out.
Okay.
Which one would you say that would be representative of his style?
Um,
That's maybe too tall of an order, but just I think we talked beforehand, but I've kind of forgotten. I think.
well, 30 is his song. I don't know if that's his main style because he
Okay,
writes in a lot of different styles.
right on.
I think there's something about Whiskey Romp that's kind of like his. It's got a signature of his on it. So,
Okay, yeah,
um,
let's listen to a bit of that really quickly.
yeah, it's Tim's stuff.
Now you're lost at her fingertips, waiting around for the bliss that'll never return, or so you say. Hobbling around from door to door, the love that one needs is never the cure. Waking and walking back up to the store. I can't be this man, can't do this anymore. Now take what you see, kill what you need. It's a life-taking, mouth-breathing tragedy. Well,
I hate to cut that one so short. I'm just trying to manage our time, but I really like that song too. Like
Oh,
whenever that one comes
yeah.
on.
Yeah, it's he used to do like concept albums, and I wish he hadn't pulled one of his concept albums from SoundCloud because it was kind of great. Um, it was he's got a very odd sensibility, and when he writes a song, he's like, I'm going to write it in such and such a style, and it's going to be this type of song, and it's going to be this long, and it's going to have these chords in it or whatever. It's like he maps it all out in ways that I just can't operate that way. I don't know how to. And I'm probably supposed to like give us equal writing credits on all the songs, but basically this whole album was a labor of love, and we both put a lot of work into it, and that's what matters.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't mean to like sort of separate the songs, but into his versus yours. But cool, man. I guess we'll just start trying to wrap it up. I just want to thank you again, P Chops, for doing this, and Joe for doing this with us. It's been
Thanks.
really fun,
I
man.
have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Quick. Okay. Are we loud enough? I don't have a loud shirt, but I've got a loud dress. Are we loud enough?
I think I'm winning. I don't know.
I think you are too.
Yeah.
But we love it.
Thank you. It's all about volume.
Yes.
Yeah, mine's too coherent to be loud enough, I think.
It's got to be. You got to crank it. You got to crank your.
We were searching the
crank your
closet
vocal.
earlier for what's loud enough, and he's like, "Your bathrobe is pretty loud." And I'm like, "I'm not wearing that." But it's like with polka dots, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty loud."
Yeah, there you go.
Did what I could in
Awesome.
solidarity.
Thank you.
Yes. Hey,
Well, it would be great to chat more on some other occasion, even.
yeah, I was gonna say there was just so much I wanted to talk to you about that we'll
Yeah,
have to do this again sometime.
that sounds
Yeah.
great.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything you want to plug? I know you mostly do this stuff for enjoyment, but is there anything you want to plug?
No, there's really nothing I want to plug. I mean, you'll put the links and my usernames to Peachops, and like
Right on.
Peachops is really the main thing that I'm doing right now. That stream on that channel is my main creative outlet right now. So if you want to see what I'm doing, that's the place to go.
Sweet. Yeah, so that's twitch.tv/p_chops. The albums we listened to, it was joefutrell.bandcamp.com. There's a chronology album on there. There's a couple of other electronic ones that I wanted to get to that we didn't, because you also do a lot of cool electronic, like house and some other genres. And then the Hockey Stoppers was that collab with your friend Tim. The album is an occasional flash of self-awareness. I advise you check it out. These are both really cool. And yeah, thanks again, man.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Des. I appreciate it. This has been so cool. Desiree kind of talked me into doing all this stuff. I don't really like being on camera and shit like that, so I appreciate it, and this has been fun.
Imagine how I feel
Right.
about having these putting this old music of mine out there. It's like, wow, it just brings up all kinds of feelings.
Yeah, well, I just, that's sort of like I think our mission, isn't it? Des is just sort of like stuff that we feel like is under-recognized, try to promote that.
Things that, yeah, I mean, we're music fans, so we just want to highlight what we're fans of. And we're going to have on our next show, we're going to have Assorted Marbles, and then after that we'll have Big Empty Zero. They both stream on Twitch, and we're kind of taking turns with, like, okay, I get to pick one, who am I fangirling over, and I don't know. But the thing that is wonderful about this is that BC and I tend to fangirl over the same stuff, so it's a
Yeah.
good partnership.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
totally are just abusing our privilege here to just talk to artists we want to talk to.
Yeah,
That's the way
pretty
to
much.
do it. That's the thing to do. Yeah, no, you're onto something there.
Right on.
We just want to
And
hang out. Yeah.
I'm happy to be one of those people. I appreciate that.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again. This was episode 2 of the Big Frog Podcast. Thanks again to Peachops and Desiree, Bonus Creature. Peace out.